Hi, my name is Ashley, aka Señorita Spanish, and welcome back to another one of my videos. Today we are going to talk about Corre in Círculos, which is one of my all-time favorite activities. I like to include it at least once a chapter. So we're going to talk about how to prep, how to set it up, how to introduce it to your students, and just how to use it. So let's get started. Just a really quick basic overview of how this works. It's basically like taping I have who has to your walls and letting your students use it as a scavenger hunt. So students are going to start anywhere around the room at any of the sheets of paper, and then they're going to answer all of the questions in order until it makes one really big loop. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second here. And another quick note for traveling teachers, I have done this when I'm in 3 different classrooms in 2 different schools. I've done this in 2 different classrooms in just 1 classroom. So even if you're a traveling teacher, you can do this. So let's talk prep and setup. So first you need the student answer sheets. Actually, you don't even need these. I don't usually use them, but if it's your very first time using it in your class, I would print a class set of these, right? Make copies for each kid, just because it's got the instructions written out on top. So if you're new or if they're new to it, it might help them to have that support there. After you use it over and over again, I literally just have my kids take out a sheet of notebook paper and number 1 to 25. I mean, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the set. They already know because they see the stuff hanging around the walls and they're like, oh, we're doing that today. And you're like, yes, we are. The other piece that you need in order to finish setting up is to print the prompts in the scavenger hunt, cut them in half, and then hang them around the room in random order. Random order. Do not put them in order on the walls. The point is for the students to walk around and find the answers, and they will put them in order as they go. So if you hang them in order, they're gonna finish really fast, and it's not fun. So okay, so I just finished telling you to hang them in random order, but for the purposes of this example, I kind of didn't, just so that you could actually see this chunk of wall, because I'm gonna demo how I usually introduce this to students for you. So bear in mind, usually this example would be like, now we're over here and now we're over there. But for the video, I just hung them right here behind me so I can show you. Okay, so we're gonna pretend like you're my students and this is our first time doing this. Usually I would do this in a mix of Spanish and English, depending on what point in the year it is, what level it is, how comfortable they are. Because I know there are teachers who teach other things other than Spanish who watch my videos, I'm just gonna demo it all in English. Okay, class A, we're gonna do the first 1 or 2 together just to make sure we all know what's going on. So please remind me, do we look at the small text or the big stuff first? Right, we're gonna look at the small text. So let's just start at this one, right? We're just gonna start somewhere. And this one says, son las 12. What does son las 12 mean? Right, okay, so everybody write 12 o'clock on your answer sheet. Okay, so we're looking. Does anybody see that one in the big letters? Oh, yep, here it is. It's right here. Okay, so 12. All right, so our next question says son las 12:30. What is son las 12:30? Okay, right. Let's look and see if we can find it. Do you see it around the room somewhere? Okay, right. So we look at the small things, we write our answer, we find it on the wall in the big letters, and then we go to that sheet. And we go around and around and around until what? Right, until you get all the way to number 25 on your sheet. And remember, number 25 should take you all the way back to wherever you started. If you get back to where you started too soon, you did something wrong. If your last one doesn't lead you back to the one where you started, you did something wrong. So make sure that you're being careful. You watch out, and then here I usually tell them things to watch out for, common mistakes that they might make that might cause them to lead astray. So make sure you look out for these things and you're being careful when you're writing down your answers and looking for them around the room. Bien? So just a quick note, whenever I make these, I purposefully put in things that I know that my students have issues with that they need to be careful about. So things like for this example, dos and doce is a common error at the beginning of my Spanish students' number skills. So I might have a few sentences that mix dos and doce and a few possible answers where they really do need to be careful. So I'll just draw attention to some of those common errors that they might be finding around the walls, common mistakes that they might make depending on whatever skill we're practicing, just to make sure they're thinking about, make sure I'm being careful about this because Otherwise, it can get them off the path and they can get screwed up. So just to make sure that they're being cautious and being careful. But that's also one of the things that I like about this, because it's self-correcting. So if they get to the wrong spot too soon, they know they have to retrace their steps or maybe even start over. So after I've introduced it to them, or after I've reminded them how the activity goes, depending on how many times we've used it in class, I set them free and they go. If it's like our first or second time doing the activity, I will actively float and check on kids and make sure that they're doing it correctly, not just for the skills, but to make sure they're understanding the activity, because the first time they might forget to write down, I've had kids forget to write down their answers because they just are following, or they just get confused. Or I'll float and I'll check in on kids that might need extra support with the skill that we're practicing. It just depends on at what point in the unit I'm using this. If it's later in the unit, they might not need as much support because it's just a quick practice. If it's earlier in the unit, they might need a lot of support. So totally depends on where you are. So there's a lot of different ways you can get into using this in your classroom, and I'm gonna do a whole separate video on variations for it. But I just wanted to give you a few quick examples. So you saw this one with time, where it's just the numbers on top and then the time written out in sentences on the bottom. This one is from a weather one. So they're looking at a symbol or a picture of the weather, and they're gonna find the sentence to describe the weather around the room. Ooh, just a quick note so I don't forget to mention it. This one is a free resource on my website. I'll make sure to link it in the description below. This is just basic conjugation practice. So down here, there's a subject and then an infinitive, and they're gonna walk around the room and find the correctly conjugated form of the verb as they're writing their answers down. So just 3 examples of how you could use it. I will put links to all of the things that I mentioned in the description of this video. As always, if you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up so I know. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss any new videos coming out in the future. Thanks for watching.